Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Art of Being a Woman. I'm your host, Courtney, and today we are discussing the art of increasing self awareness. Self awareness is very important because it allows us to see what's working for us and what's not working for us. This applies to the internal parts of ourselves and also externally in how our life plays out because it's all connected and related. I always thought that I was self aware because I have always been someone that loves to journal and I love those psychology quizzes like the Myers-Briggs type quizzes. I also love astrology and I grew up really studying the signs and the whole birth chart. And so I thought that this meant that I was self aware. Now, once I began my spirituality journey, I learned that apparently self awareness is not something that we can accomplish alone. The only way that we can really get a full picture on who we are and what it is that we might need to work on and improve upon is through other people. And that is so interesting to me. I didn't realize that other people can really give insight into our blind spots. I remember I was taking one of my spirituality classes, and there was an activity that we had to do, which was life changing. We had to basically think of someone in our life that we can specifically call and not text and tell them, hey, I'm taking a course right now and I am working on becoming a better person. Can you please tell me one thing that you think I should change about myself or work on so that I can become a better person and just have an easier time in life? So, when that assignment was given out, I know that I was a little nervous because the people that we love the most, they know a lot more than they let on. And it's because they love us and they care about us. And many times in life, we are not always ready to hear the truth about ourselves because it doesn't feel good to be told that we get in our own way. And it also doesn't feel good to hear criticism. And even if we have thick skin, even if we're used to receiving feedback from people, it's just not something people go after and people look forward to hearing about themselves. I remember after the instructor gave out the assignment, we all had to take a break and call that person. Immediately, I thought of one of my best friends from childhood, and I also thought of my mother. And I was scared because I know that from time to time, my mother especially will definitely tell me about myself, and it'll always be when I don't want to hear it. And so I just brush her off. Like, thanks, but no thanks. I didn't really ask for you to analyze my personality right now. And I was just thinking to myself as I was getting ready to ask her, oh wow, here we go. And surprisingly, when I spoke to her, she told me what it was, and she was very honest. She said it was exactly what I told you the other day, but you weren't really in the mood to hear it. And I smiled because it's so funny how people can really give us clues about ourselves all the time. And if we're not open to receiving it, we just don't receive it. And so I didn't realize how truly blessed and lucky I was to have such an amazing mother who tells me the truth about myself, even if I might get irritated with her in the moment, even if I'm not ready to hear it. It made me more eager and more excited to receive criticism and feedback in my life because it's not a sign that we're bad people. It's not a sign that we have a lot of work to do. It's a sign that we have people in our lives that know us very well and they can tell us the truth about ourselves so that we can become better people and not only become better people to make their lives easier, but really to make our own lives easier. Because many times in life we can go through challenging circumstances or we can feel blocked in certain areas, whether it's career and love and friendship, and we can wonder why. Like, I am doing a lot of things right. I work hard. I am loyal. I am generous. And we might not see the blind spots that are holding us back from accessing even more success in our life. So, we're going to get into 4 steps that I wrote down on my Instagram account. She is Artfully Woman. I talk a lot about these podcast topics in a written format over there. So if you're interested, please go check it out. I would love to have you there. Now, the 4 steps are as follows. 1. Accept nothing happens by chance. 2. Identify your biggest triggers. 3. Embrace the gift of constructive criticism. And 4. Accept that growth is endless. Step number 1. Accept that nothing happens by chance. Now, the first step to self awareness, in my opinion, is understanding that every experience we go through is an effect of something that we caused. And that might not be something that everyone is willing to accept right now. But when things go our way or random acts of kindness happen to us in our life, we don't question it in terms of why me? Why are good things happening to me? Why do I deserve kindness? Why do I deserve generosity? We don't do that because we know that there's moments in our life where we give out that energy. There's moments when we're generous to other people. There's moments when we're kind to strangers. There's moments when we're loving and we're giving. And so when we receive that back from friends and family, loved ones, strangers, even, it's not that shocking to us. But when we deal with more negative situations, such as someone has an attitude, someone doesn't hold the door open for us, someone doesn't acknowledge that we dedicated time to make their lives easier, so on and so forth, that's when we start to question, why me? The thing is, we all have our days and our moments when we react without thinking about the way that we are reacting to other people. Whether we're on the phone while we're picking something up at the store and we didn't realize that someone behind us needed us to open the door for them. We just walked right into the store and we were busy doing our own thing. Or we can have a moment when we're spacing out while we're driving and we're going under the speed limit. We don't even realize. And the people behind us, they're in a rush. They're late for some meeting. Who even knows? There's moments when we are on top of ourselves and we are giving and loving people. And then there's moments when we are just not. We're not present. We're focused elsewhere, whether we're thinking about the future or reminiscing on the past. And it happens. We all have our moments. When we can accept that, it lays the foundation for self awareness because nothing in life is random. When we are frustrated, when we are experiencing a delay in something that we want, or an obstacle that prevents us from reaching our goal, these are all opportunities for us to tap into our own self awareness and observe what our reactions might be by default. Whether that means when you're frustrated, maybe you start to complain. When you are dealing with a delay, maybe you feel like giving up. You lose your motivation. And if there's an obstacle in the way, perhaps you get really upset at life and sad. Once we become aware of our default reactions in these frustrating moments, we can begin to look at ourselves in a new way. And not only look at ourselves in a new way, we could look at life in a new way. Because what if the delays and the obstacles and the frustrations are the test? That is something that I have been learning within my own life. Think about anything that you want badly enough, whether it's career success, romantic success, financial success, anything. Whatever it is that you want so badly, many times we are met with resistance, frustration to see how badly we want it. And if we want it badly enough, we will work on ourselves, change our attitude so that we can receive everything that it is that we want. For example, if I want to have amazing friendships in my life, I have to be willing to call up my friends currently and ask them what is something that I can do differently in our friendship to be a better friend to you. I know that I want to be the best friend that I could possibly be. And it's going to require me to not only become more self aware, but be open to doing things differently and hearing different perspectives on myself that I might not be aware of. A tip for this step is to think of the last thing that frustrated you, think of the last thing that bothered you, and perhaps your default reaction is to just blame it on life. Life is strange. You think you're going to get something and you don't. But instead of having that sort of mentality when life doesn't work out the way that you expect, try to come up with a different reason as to why it didn't work out. Perhaps the answer is not no. Perhaps the answer is just not now. Is there something that you think you can improve upon within yourself? Try to improve one thing about your personality. Try to work on one part of your character and see how that shifts that area of your life. Step 2. Identify your biggest triggers. The things that frustrate us and irritate us the most are never a coincidence. They are always showing us where we still hold on to hurt feelings and an unresolved wound. Personally, I was not always aware of what my triggers were. I just thought that when certain things bothered me and irritated me, it was because they're just irritating and they're just annoying. And you might be thinking that too. The only difference is if the things that bothered you and irritated you were universally annoying, everyone would feel the exact same way as you when that trigger would occur. For example, let's say you get very triggered when you're in a public place, whether you're on the train, you're on the bus, you're in an elevator, and someone is talking on the phone really loud. Now, if that bothers you, you can still be minding your business and still get triggered by it. But if that bothers you, it doesn't mean that the person talking loud on the phone is an annoying person. It just means for some reason it bothers you very deeply. Perhaps you personally do not allow yourself to talk on the phone in a public place. If there's no sign that says no talking on the phone, you're allowed to speak on the phone. You're allowed to be loud while you're talking on the phone. Is it enjoyable for everyone around? Probably not. But people have headphones, people mind their business, and if you're in a public place, then that is sort of the expectations that it's not going to be quiet. And this is just an example of a trigger. But when things like that come up on a daily basis, where some random person that we don't even know is just annoying or we feel they are obnoxious, it's a sign that we have a trigger. Instead of fixating on what the other person is doing wrong and why it's wrong, go within and ask yourself why it bothers you so much. Go within and ask yourself, do I not allow myself to do the very thing that I'm getting annoyed about? When we become aware of our triggers, it allows us to not separate ourselves from other people in this world, because that's truly what happens without us realizing. We have all been on the other side of a trigger, whether we realize it or not. We have done things that triggered other people, and we get triggered by other people. And there's nothing wrong with either one. The point of triggers is to bring awareness to something that is not yet healed, something that is not yet obvious about ourselves. Going forward, I want you to really try. Whenever something annoys you, whenever something irritates you, don't fixate on the person that's annoying you. Don't fixate on the person that is irritating you. Focus on what the action is. Focus on what the comment is. That is what we need to hone in on and understand why it's bothering us so that we can reclaim control over our own thoughts, our own feelings, and our own actions. Because think about it. When we get triggered, it's a process. First, it starts off with a thought. We'll use the same example of someone speaking really loudly in an elevator. It's a small elevator. There's, let's say, 5, 6 people inside, and one person is just talking loud and it's bothering you. First, a thought will pop up. Do they not care that everyone hears their conversation right now? Or can they at least wait until they step out of the elevator? Then those thoughts repeat and it leads to feelings of, how dare they? That's so inconsiderate of them. They're so selfish. They're not even thinking about their surroundings. And it can turn into anger. It can turn into judgment, and perhaps the accumulation of these thoughts and the accumulation of these feelings, eventually they just build up so much that you do something. You give a dirty look, or you make a comment and you ask them, can you please lower your voice? And I don't know if anyone has ever tried to tell another adult what to do. It doesn't work well. I know that when I tell children what to do, they tend to do the complete opposite because nobody likes to be told what to do. And so it could be in those moments when we try to control a situation or another person because we think they're the problem and it's not us that's getting triggered that's the problem. The world will just be better if we tell people about themselves, but it won't lead to any self awareness. If anything, it will bring you further away from it. And so I will wrap up this step by saying triggers are meant for us. Triggers are a signal that we have work to do within. It has nothing to do with the person that's triggering us, and it has everything to do with how we think about the trigger, feel about the trigger, and react to the trigger. A tip for this step, you can list 5 things that trigger you the most right now and review it daily before you start interacting with people. Go over this list so that if these triggers come up, you know that it's not personal. It has nothing to do with the person that's setting you off. It has to do with things that you need to work on within yourself. And this will give you an advantage to your day, and you will be able to become more of an observer rather than someone that is just reacting without thinking. Now, step number 3, we have embrace the gift of constructive criticism. Surprisingly, this is my favorite step, and it's because of the story that I mentioned earlier in this podcast. I really did not expect to enjoy the workshop of calling my best friend and calling my mom to receive constructive criticism about myself. It's amazing because I have other friends, and for some reason, my intuition was telling me you need to ask this specific friend that knew you the longest. And I was very nervous, I'm not going to lie, because she has known me through all the phases of my personality. She has known me through my most unhealed versions. And she still loves me and she's still in my life. And so I'm very grateful for her and I'm very lucky to have an amazing friend like her in my life. And she is actually so sweet. When I called her, and I asked her, what is something that you think I should work on within myself and it will make my life a lot better and our relationship better? And she almost didn't want to tell me at first because she's so sweet and caring and sensitive. And I said, please, please tell me. I want to hear it. I trust you. And so she told me. And what's so funny is that she said, well, it's what I told you before. Remember when we had that conversation a few months ago and I said that you tend to do this thing? And I did remember what she was talking about. And I laughed because, again, it was another situation where someone had told me about myself and I just wasn't ready to receive it. And I noticed a theme. For some reason, I have a hard time receiving constructive criticism when I'm not asking for it. But when I decide that I am ready to gain feedback on myself, that's when I'm all ears. And so I definitely apologized, and it was a great experience. The cool thing about gaining feedback from people in our life that know us very well and love us very much is they probably will say similar things because they know you very well. And that's what happened for me in my personal experience. Both people, my best friend and my mom, both pretty much told me the same character trait that they thought if I work on this, I would be a lot happier and things would be a lot easier for me. It was also really beautiful to see how much people in my life truly care about me. And when we ask people to give us constructive criticism on ourselves, the people that love us don't want us to feel bad about ourselves. We're not bad people for having qualities within ourselves that we want to overcome. We're not bad people for having areas within ourselves that we need to work on. If anything, that is one of the most attractive traits in a person. To meet someone that knows they're not perfect and is willing to work on themselves so that they can have better relationships with the people around them. And in turn, they have a better relationship with themselves as well. So think of two people in your life that you love, that know you well, and give them a call. You can pause this podcast right now, give them a call, and ask them the same thing. Ask them, what is something that you think if I work on within my own personality, I will be a lot happier and our relationship will be a lot better as well. By doing this and receiving the feedback, we accelerate the process of self awareness immediately. Because instead of us journaling, meditating, going to therapy, and using all these tools to reflect, we can go straight to the people that know us best. And what's really interesting is that it's very easy for us as people to see everyone else's blind spots, everyone else's shortcomings. And what I mean by this is that it's very easy for us as people to see others' flaws. But for some reason, it's very hard for us to see our own flaws. And so this is where other people can come in and make our lives a lot easier. Why do we have to go through trial and error and get into relationships and over time they don't work out just to learn more about ourselves and our own blind spots when we have people in our lives currently that know us well enough to tell us the truth right away? Now, step 4. We have accept that growth is endless. There is truly no part of self growth, self healing, self improvement when we are completely done, when we are perfectly evolved. And this is a good thing because we should always have the desire to be better. And that is why life is always going to meet us with certain frustrations and certain obstacles. It's not to punish us, it's not to make our lives hard. It's to truly challenge us so that we have a desire to expand and to grow. Think of a child that gets whatever they want at all times, and they never really hear the word no. Those children have a hard time working on their behavior. They have a hard time listening to their parents. Why? Because they have no desire to work on their behavior. Why would they? If someone has everything that they could possibly want, why would there be a need to change? And so that's sort of how life works. The only reason why we are met with resistance and frustration is so that we actually have a desire to become better people. And once we become better people, and that includes becoming more self aware. And we have a desire to actually want to be self aware and to grow. That is when life starts to reward us more and more. The resistance lessens and the frustrations are not as frequent. It's because we are mastering our own inner state of being. That is where true happiness comes from. It's not from external pleasures, it's not money, vacations, clothing, hitting milestones. It's none of that. True happiness comes from within. Once we work on cultivating that inner happiness, nothing outside of us has the power to take away our happiness. And that is the beauty of self awareness. It truly holds the key to our happiness and our own inner fulfillment. I hope this episode helped remind you that although we are not in control of life, we truly have so much power when we become self aware because every thought and every feeling and every action becomes intentional. I hope you have an amazing week. I love you all. Until next time, bye for now.